part of the show that we usually say something like snappy, or we like guy sings a song, or we do something like that, but I'm just going to play the intro. What is up, Defects? Back on a Monday night. Whew, it feels like so long in between shows. You know what I mean? It feels like we did this forever ago, but it's only been a week. I miss it. I miss the chat. I miss the energy. But we're back. We got some good topics tonight, and obviously down below, it's not Jay, it's not Gary, it's not Erod. It's MTG Greg. What's going on, brother?
What is up, guys? Thank you so much. It's so good to be back. Really excited about this one.
So it's a show that we've talked about for a little while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Actually, Greg's here for more than one reason, right? So
I know.
It's good. We're gonna have
I
a good
serve
night.
more than one purpose. I serve.
Guy Forge, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man? We missed you on the auction the other night.
I missed you guys. Yeah, I don't want that pain on anyone. Let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to say what was going on, but nobody wants that pain. I love how it's MTG Greg. I like that.
MTG Greg.
It just made Greg MTG.
Mr. King Kon. Mr. King
Greg
Kon
MTG
himself.
On my phone. Yeah. King Kon. We're going to talk about that.
Good to see everybody.
Well, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm sorry. Yeah. MTG is we could talk about it later when we're doing the grading. It's making the grade. It's my Facebook page. So it's not my weird initials or anything like that.
Well, wait, no. How perfect is that?
I mean, sometimes it just fits together.
Sometimes you just put that, you just lay it up there, you tee it up for him, Greg. You teed it up for him. So
it's like lamb and tuna fish. You know what I mean?
They go together. They go together.
Just to clean up some stuff, guy was asking in the chat. What were they asking in the chat about the auction?
They were. I know I wasn't there, guys, but I saw some chatter while people were hanging pre-gaming it about a Ranger variant that Jay was giving away during the auction. Maddie, you want to explain what happened with that?
Yeah, we did give that away, but it was we did a chat giveaway, so we ran it based on the hashtag, and it was comics in my veins, and I guess he bounced out of there before it ran, which wasn't that long. I mean, he put the hashtag in, he must have left right away because it was like 2 minutes later, like literally 2 minutes. So yeah, if you're in here, comics in my veins, which I know you're in here quite a bit, so send us your information and we will get that over to you. And then also Frog Brawler, who's always in here. I'm sure we're going to see his name at some point. He won something. He won those. He won the Silver Age Avengers that have the, they tear them off when they're supposed to send them back. They tear the title off. We had like three of those. They were in pretty good condition besides that, but it was just a cool thing to have in like your collection, like just a reader copy. And some of them were keys. That was Frog Brawler. So if you're in here, buddy,
he's here right now. Just say what's up. Frog Brawler.
You gotta send me your information so I can send it back over. So I could send those books out to you. So let me know. Either email us pressabledefects@gmail.com or hit me up on IG. All right. As far as tonight goes, before we get into all that, we should probably talk about our sponsors.
Probably. And we have Express Comic Book Pressing Service. You guys saw him on the auction on Friday, hanging out with the boys. Erod 212, he will blaze your books. You know that. There ain't nobody better. There ain't nobody wetter. I don't know about that, but
wow.
it just
took it too far.
It just rhymed. It
just
rhymed.
Took it too far.
So you know what? Hopefully it doesn't wet your books, but he will blaze your books. He submits to CGC&CBCS. Everybody sends their books to Erod. He is the presser's presser, as the butcher calls him. Use that code Defects10 to get you 10% off. And none other than Mutant Beaver we have next. As I say all the time, www.mutantbeavercomics.com. Greg, do not go to mutantbeaver.com. That will send
Don't
you
do
someplace else. MutantBeaverComics.com. Defects 10 will get you that 10% discount code. They ship where, Matty Forge? Worldwide. Okay? Our fellas up in Canada. Tell
Pat
and the B-Man that the butcher sent them. I was waiting for it.
Yeah. Speaking of the butcher, I mean, if those of you that didn't show up at the auction the other night, appearance by the Butcher 105.
Oh yeah.
And he did have some news that he will be returning shortly. Probably sometime after the holidays, but he dropped that exclusive during the auction. So that's why you guys got to show up to the auction, even if you're not buying books. We had a good time. If you missed it, you missed the cat, which you may be hearing right now. He's having another shit fit. There was another scene. Oh my God!
You hear him?
Shut the fuck up!
Greg, look at Greg's face.
Jesus Christ! I can't. That's why I don't like cats.
I
It's
have
my
a
girl's
cat.
cat. I live with a cat now, and I don't know what to do.
Greg, all you hear is.
My cat does the same thing in the middle of the night. Usually, it's interesting.
I bought a
man.
Nerf gun, and now things have gotten a little better. Yeah.
All right. Those are serious. Those Nerf guns these days, man. Like
I don't know if you can say that on the air. Yeah, but
I
have
mean,
a pistol
it's just
one,
a
and
deterrent.
they hurt.
Mhm.
I shoot around the cat, not actually the cat.
Got it.
The pussy is horny. That's what that was the hashtag. Matt's pussy was the last hashtag giveaway, because the cat became part of the auction. So
Wow.
yeah. Trying to
Just
think
put him
what
on
else.
camera.
I don't want anything to do with him. Okay, he gets hair all over me. I don't like it.
What kind of a cat is it?
It's black. I have no idea. Is there types of cats? I didn't.
Yes.
Are there types of cats?
To me, ever since he's been in my life, it's been bad luck. So I feel like that's a real thing, a black cat. But yeah, we're good to go. Everything's good. He's going to be quiet the rest of the night, I'm pretty sure. Probably not, but it was fun. We had a fun time at the auction, you guys. Definitely check out. We're probably going to be doing it in about 4 weeks. So maybe like the second or third Friday in January, we're going to be running it again. Bigger and better every time. So we're going to be talking about grading tonight, techniques, little things. Greg's going to show off the CGC book. We're going to talk about, maybe some stuff you don't know. It's if you think you know everything about collecting, it's probably wrong. I learn stuff every day. It's just good to hear different opinions, and there's little things that we're going to talk about that can help you either save money or make money, or just make your collectible more efficient, right? A couple news articles, but I think what we want to do is, I was talking to Greg and last week before the show, and he's like, "Are you guys going to talk about the Mario trailer?" And he actually is the reason why I put it in there. Because he was like, "You guys, that stole the show," and I was like, "Listen, you know what? You're right." I said I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna watch it, and then if it's good, I'll put it in the show. Did
you see the second trailer that came out?
I was just gonna say, this is a Defect exclusive because there was a second trailer, Greg.
Do we have how many people do we have in here? Only 75 people in here. Maybe we'll show it twice, but for the 75 that showed up, I think you should show the second trailer that came out.
The second trailer, this seems like the Mario.
This is just a piece of it, right?
Just a little. This is a clip of it, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie that we needed.
Me and the Mario, we get used to the finer things. Now, how about you show me how to use that the hunker of yours?
I don't know.
Oh, ding 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 ding. Now I'm sleepy.
Hey, you guys used to come by on a pretty regular basis, but I haven't seen you in a while.
We take the lady. How about you order yourself a nice mail order bride? Hold on. Now scram, capiche?
There's a little bit more, but I think you get the point. That's the one we need.
Luigi's my boy, man. Ding, 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 ding.
As a Mario 2 fan, I don't like seeing Birdo used in that manner, but I'll accept it.
The fact that you know her name,
Hey, Mario 2 is underrated. I love that game.
Chinmo knows Robot Chicken. That's right.
Yeah.
Seth Green is a genius. Let's just let's leave it at that.
He said, "Now I'm sleepy." Yeah. We just talked about Jay. If you guys missed it, he was in on the auction. You guys missed it. If you didn't see the auction, that's why you got to come to the auctions, like I said. And he said he'll be back sometime after the holidays, so maybe in like a month. You might see Jay again right around his birthday, which is sometime in January. So keep an eye out. You know, don't worry, Jay's not gone. He's on hiatus. All right. What's up, Wally? Good to see you. A lot of familiar faces in here. I'm loving it. But I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna jump right into the kind of the thumbnail, right? We're gonna talk about the grading. We'll talk about the MCU stuff later, but I want to get right into this grading because I think there's a good amount to talk about. So I wanted to get Greg on specifically because, you know, he's talked about it with me a few times. I know Greg's a really good grader and he has that Facebook group. So I'm gonna give Greg the floor a little bit here just to kind of tell us about how you got interested in I know he's upset, but I'm putting you on the spot.
It's a lot of pressure.
Listen, how did you know, you've told me the story, but tell everybody else the story about the grading page, where it started, where it is now, and kind of why you decided to go that route.
Well, when I guess first started really getting back into collecting, I wanted to start sending stuff off to CGC, and I guess long story short, I would get books, I'd come across, you know, certain defects that were on them and not really understand them or how it could affect a grade. Specifically books that looked really good but might have had like one thing in there that, you know, it's like, man, this is really sharp, but this crease is a little long, but it's on the back, not too noticeable. Where would this fall? So I would send it to CGC, and in the meantime I would be really impatient and would be looking online for maybe grades that I thought it could be on eBay, like to compare. And I know we've all done that. Like if you send something, you kind of go on and look for, like, maybe you think it's an 8, so I'm going to start looking up 8s. Oh, but mine doesn't have that. Mine has this, you know, stuff like that. Then I would go on to the CGC boards. They have like a grading section in there. I would try to submit pictures and get some feedback, and it felt real clunky on the CGC boards. So I was like, you know what? I don't know if there's a group out there that's like this, but why don't I try to start a group where I submit pictures or people can submit pictures and get feedback from like the comic community all over, you know, the world for some advice. Because, you know, there's people out there that have been grading books based on Overstreet way before CGC. So that's kind of, it spiraled into that. And now it's a group that is really helpful for people. It's got about 4,000 people in there. It's on Facebook. It's called Making the Grade. And that, like, to capitalize on what you were saying earlier, no one could know everything about comics grading. I learned something new all the time in that group, reading books, sending stuff in, you know, from vendors and dealers that I speak to. So it's really interesting to see the feedback you get on there and just to continue, you know, learning, because it is one huge part of the hobby right now, you know?
Yeah. And I guess it's, you know, and Guy, if, you know, as we go through this, if people have questions, just put them in caps for Guy, and Guy will highlight them, because there is, you know, there's some stuff, you know, like Greg just said, I mean, the Facebook group grew. So it's like when you see, and that's one of the notes that I kind of made, the more examples of books and defects, and not us, but defects in general, that you see on these books and grades received, just the more your kind of like your tool chest grows, right? And how you observe a book and compare it to what the past has taught you that book should receive. And even if, you know, and some people are like, I don't grade my books. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's fine, but sometimes you still need to know the condition. You know, sometimes, you know, grading condition, some people don't use that when it's raw versus slab, but at the end of the day, you still need to know what condition your book is in if you're buying a raw book at a show or online or this or that, because you don't want to overpay. Hopefully you're underpaying, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just think that there's so many tools at your disposal to make you better. And something like that Facebook group is one, but there's resources out there, Greg, that, you know, something that you just picked up recently that I have something similar to that I told people on this channel a million times that I think they should invest in, but you just recently have picked up the new book from CGC, right?
Yeah, and just to talk about what you were saying before, I think, you know, a grade and condition, there is a difference there, because you could, I see condition more as like the near mint or the very fine, you know, there's more like a range, whereas the grade is the grade. Like when I sell a raw book, I never say this is going to be a 5.5 or this is going to be a 7, you know, or even a 9.8. I'll say this looks like to be in the near mint range, you know, but maybe 0.2 at that point, like 9.2, right. Maybe a 9.6, most likely a 9.4, something like that. What was your question? What did you ask me just
the
right
book?
Before that?
No, I was talking about the CGC.
Oh, the CGC book.
Well, before we talk about CGC book, I think that's an interesting point that you just made. Is why, you know, I think and we all do it. Like, why do we get so hung up? Like, clearly every condition milestone is equivalent to a grade, but for some reason, when you're dealing with raw books, if you tell somebody it's a 9.4 versus near mint, there's like a different mindset about it for some reason, right? Am I the only one that notices that, or
no? It's just the way we've kind of, it's CGC, the grading, having that number designated to the grade has just become so, like, you know, slapped into our minds that it's sometimes we forget to, I feel like, enjoy the book for what it is and really appreciate, like, people always say buy the book, not the grade, and I totally agree with that, because there's been a lot of times where I've had a book that I think is probably lower grade than another book I have in a slab, but it looks better. So I've sold the slab that's I think is a higher grade and kept the raw that I probably would grade lower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, when you say that, assign that number to it, it's kind of like that's what that person is going to cling to,
right?
Yep, and they're gonna they expect that that's what it's going to be, I guess, when they send it in. Whereas no one could be 100% all the time. You know, you got to there's everyone's eyes are different, so you got to do your best, but you could give it like a little bit of a range there.
So, I mean, this is something I want to talk about. You know, a guy put up a question: how much difference is there really between an 8.5? He says 9.5, but I think he meant 9.8. I mean, there's a big difference, right? I mean, I think that's a difficult question to answer because there's so many jumps between there. But I think later on is something we're going to focus on specifically, because a couple people asked this when I put up a post about this: is the difference between a 9.8 and a 9.6? And I want to get there, but I don't think we're there yet. So, Greg, tell us about the CGC book, because I still have not seen it, but I know it definitely kind of passed the test for you, which, you know,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I kind of always use like Overstreet
right.
as a grading standard, which is tough. Like, it's pretty strict. So when I go by Overstreet and I send stuff into CGC, I usually come out
happy,
higher.
Right? Yeah.
Because it's Overstreet's really strict. I'm not saying CGC isn't strict, but there's a difference. You know, you could see there, you know, you have a little more leeway, I think, personally. But I like the CGC book because it's really updated. One thing that popped out is they go over, you know, defects with pictures, really in detail, and also stuff with pressing that I didn't, you know, I don't press, but there are defects that pressing can cause, and only pressing can cause, it seems. So stuff like that is in there. Talks about pedigrees, even like how to identify, you know, a pedigree that you might come across in a raw collection that is from a pedigree collection, because they have certain writings on it, certain markings, which I thought was really cool. So it doesn't just cover like grading, it covers how to identify restoration, conservation. You know, it's just really detailed. I ran a giveaway and Murph won one.
The Murphinator?
Yeah. And he described it when he won it. He was happy, and he was like, this is like the perfect shitter book. And he was like, that you pick up. Yeah. And I thought that was brilliant, because it really is. And I was like, man, I haven't had one of those in a long time, because you just bring your phone in now all the time. But I was like, yeah, that's the perfect, it's you could really go in there and read a couple pages and learn a lot.
That's
I think it's whether it's the Overstreet guide to grading or this new CGC one, which I was, I didn't know what it would be, but Greg said it was really good. And, the more I think about it, it's like, I guess if you're going to get your book graded by CGC, you might as well read what their standards are, right? Because it can be really overwhelming, there's a lot of people in this community guys that have been in this hobby way longer than me that just are not comfortable grading a book, and that's okay because they've been burned so many times that they just kind of get like, I don't know how to judge it, right? And they just, they have an idea, but to really narrow it down is difficult because, somebody just said it, inconsistent, Uncanny Swag said inconsistent because there is a human element to it, right? You're not getting that same grader every time they go into CGC. So to get the exact grade, I think is no one's ever going to always get the exact grade because you, me, and whoever else you want to put up, you may get something within that 0.5 or even a full, like between an 8 and a 9. I think that's an acceptable range to be wrong within. But when you start missing by three levels or 4 levels, then you miss something or they miss something, right? Or vice versa, or they counted something that guy.
So here the question along the lines of that is that, like, Greg, down you have learned a lot in kind of grading yourself, right? Like you're, can we say an expert? Expert to yourself, like an expert to yourself, like you know what you're doing.
You're
confident,
right?
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say. I'm saying here. What is this grade? No, that's not what I'm saying. No. You're an expert to yourself and knowing that what you are capable of doing. And my question is that how consistent have the books been that you've gotten back that you thought they were going to be what they were, or what they turned out to be? How about that? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good track record. Stuff that I've sold to people, they've been happy. I'm not trying to boast. I'm just saying,
and that's not why I'm saying it. The reason why I'm saying it is that we've said how consistent they are with their grading. Like that's where the question comes in. You know what it should be. Let's say what it should be sending something to them. The last 20 times you've done it, has it come back like pretty much every time right around where you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, there's been a few times where I've been like, all right, that was, I'm happy. That was higher than I thought it was going to be. And then there's been, I sent a giant size in recently and I was like, man, they were really tough on that. You know what I mean? Like I thought, stuff like that. So, but it was only 0.2 lower than what I thought it was going to be. But I felt like it was just a very strict grade that they assigned it. But yeah, like Matt said, I think a lot of it's confidence. Like when I started the group, I wanted to build my knowledge and I wanted to build confidence because I don't think people always need to rely on CGC, to sell books. It costs money. It's time. Sometimes you want a quick turnaround. You want a quick sale. You should know how to do that yourself because it's a skill. Just like you don't always need to call a plumber. You don't always need to call an electrician. You know what I mean? It's not as laborious as those things, but it's important today. And if you're in the hobby and you're selling books, to fine tune your skills.
I can call Mario, I'm calling Mario.
All right.
Just now, Luigi's a little busy right now.
Luigi's a little shady character.
He's a little busy right now. But going into what Greg said, as he takes a nice gulp of his, what do you got there? Merlot or a little?
It is a Petite Syrah.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right.
Wintertime's my
Pinot Noir kind of guy.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Pinot
way
Noir
over
too.
my head. I'm just taking Miller Lite or maybe like a Jameson or something like that. Will be all right.
I have those too.
Yeah. But going into what Greg said, and along with what James Bicknell is asking, guy, if you could highlight that one, is it worth to send crisp modern books for a clean press before doing a 9/8 submission? And I think this all ties into it. So there's very few times where I would say it's not worth getting a cleaning and press. It's when it's a specialty cover. It's like that really thin cover with some of the Reed Pop releases where it's hard to press, where it's just, you're better off sending it as is. But those are so one-off that I would say my answer is you should always get your books cleaned and pressed. Okay, that's number one. But as far as, you know, it sometimes it's not worth. Okay, let me figure out how to. If you want to grade your book just to have it in a slab, no matter what the grade is, then this comment does not apply to you. But if you're sending in a book to get graded so that the value is there, you need to be able to figure out, hey, I only want this book in a 9.8 because in a 9.6 the value is just not there, right? Like if it's a $80 book in a 9.6, maybe you don't want to grade it because it's costing you $40. You know, depending on your situation. If you're mailing it out and you're getting it clean and pressed, and then it gets mailed back and it gets graded, you're into the book for, you know, $40 to $50. You know, like on the low side. And if it's worth $80. Well, you got to ask yourself, is it worth 20 or 30 raw? Then you're probably just wasting your time. You know, if you're kind of like borderline, that's why they use the pre-screen tool. And I don't want to make this about like a real CGC submission. It's more about judging the condition of your book. And the point is, it's a skill that can save you money. And that's kind of what the title of, and the thumbnail that guy made, fantastic, by the way, was about. You know, you should know how to judge that condition, because if you send in that book and it comes back a 9.4 instead of a 9.8, and it's not because it's something small that you missed, but it's something obvious that you missed because you don't know, you know, what you're doing, you're costing yourself money, right? You're not streamlining your collection. You're using that $40 or $50 plus the wait time. And Greg was saying the quick turnaround time is something better if you're a seller. Maybe you're just better off selling that book raw, you know. And if you want it for your collection, again, you want your collection to be the most efficient value it could be, right? So if that book is staying in your collection, that's fine. You don't have to be a flipper to still value being able to judge conditions of your book, because of course you want to buy a book and keep it in your collection at the lowest price possible. You don't want it at the highest price or the highest cost after the fact. Right? You want it at the lowest cost possible. So again, that skill can save you time and money time and time again. And the book that Greg just showed, and I hope we could flip through it a little bit, and the Overstreet guy that I've shown, you know, the grading guide, it shows you those examples. It shows you the differences between a 9.8, a 9.6, a 9.4 down the line. And I think the biggest issue that people don't realize is that individual grade levels have minimum standards, right? So if there's a book that's just completely crisp and it's a 10, other than the fact that there's a 1/4-inch tear in the cover, and maybe you're just going to assume, well, it's so nice, it must be a 9.8 or a 9.6. Well, there's a level that book can max out at. You know, the same thing with the subscription crease. That's an example that a lot of people have gotten, I don't want to say gotten burned on, but they've learned a valuable lesson. I've seen books with a subscription crease that look like 8.0s, 8.5s. They're gorgeous, other than literally the fold down the middle of the book. I think the highest a subscription crease book can get is a 5.5 from CGC. It doesn't matter what else it is.
It says it in the book. I mean, I think they say that.
Yeah, I think it's a 5.5 is the max a subscription crease can get. Unless it's go ahead.
No, I was gonna say same thing with like a detached cover. Like
detached covers, right?
I had
that 4.0.
Yeah, I had a beautiful X-Men 101, and long story short, it got messed up, and subscription crease. It says the grade range with a subscription crease. It says the range could go from 4.5 to 7.0. So I don't know if like a 7.0 with.
Well, and that's what I was going to follow up is like if it's a part, like sometimes you get that crease and it's not color breaking all the way through. I've seen that a few times. Majority of the times they color break like 90%, but I've seen it where it's folded, but it's not color breaking all the way through. So maybe that's where the range is. But on books, and I've seen it I've seen a lot of unboxing videos where people get that subscription crease back thinking that the thing is crisp, and all it is that color break down the middle, and they hit 5.5s, and I've seen 5.5 a lot on subscription creases. So
Uncle Frank said something interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he said he uses an LED light magnifying glass, and a purple light flashlight. And he goes, never buy a book without them. It helped me grade. This is where, like, obviously, if you find little I'm sure Greg tricks along the way too that like he consistently does that makes him a better grader. You know.
Well, yeah, the black light flashlights help pick up on, you know, restoration or stains that you might not see, or I use just a regular flashlight too. I mean, not all the time. It's not like I get every single book and I look over it, you know, like you know, a forensic scientist. If there's certain things that I get and they're particularly expensive and I'm selling it, I'll look over it. You know, older books I'll look over with the black light, you know, a little more like, you know, older Silver Age stuff. But yeah, all that stuff, and you know, it's like building your confidence, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I find it fun. You know, it's part of the hobby that I really enjoy. So
I just got really excited. Really excited. The Rangers won in overtime.
Rangers score? Oh, they won.
Beat the fucking Devils. Yeah, there you go, baby. Came back from
neck of the woods.
Sorry, Greg. So
it's all right.
That was a big win right there.
You know, Greg. When I got into the hobby, that was one of the first things I kind of taught myself. I wanted to become a really good grader, so I did spend a lot of time looking at books with a fine-tooth comb to see what I see that maybe somebody else didn't, or what I see that maybe the grader will see or won't see. And I graded a lot of books on my own. I would get a book in, and I would not touch them until I had them out of the bag. Like, I wouldn't put them away or anything, or until I took them out of the bag, laid them flat, checked the cover, counted the pages, checked the back cover, checked for you know, color touch, check for trimming. And I would do that. You know, I would spend 10 minutes on a book, you know, 10 or 15 minutes on a book when I first started to really get to a point where, how do I become more efficient at this? Like, what's the fastest way to do this? Because, you know, you could spend 10 minutes, but if you have a stack of 50 books sat next to you, you're going to be there for a week. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, I did that early on, and it really benefited me. You know, even buying off of eBay, you learn, you know, buying a book in person, obviously, versus buying on eBay, you learn the little tips and tricks on how to buy off of eBay when judging condition. And, you know, sometimes there's just some listings that you're just going to avoid, that maybe it's worth it. Maybe there's a chance that you're just being too cautious, but there's some that just, for me, they just have the red X. It doesn't matter what the price. It's just like, it's not worth it because I can't see what I need to see out of this book to make a good estimate on whether I'm paying. You know, I don't mind overpaying by a couple bucks, but when you're thinking it's a 5.0 and it's a 2, or when you're thinking it's an 8.0 and it's, you know, like, those are big jumps that you lose out on, right? You're putting yourself underwater.
There's so many, like, when you bring up eBay, there's just so many, like, thoughts that come to my head when it comes to, like, if there's anyone new listening, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that are comfortable with grading books, but if there's anyone that watches your show that's new and maybe isn't confident, you're going to learn by making a mistake somehow. You're going to buy something, you're going to get burned, and that's okay. There's nothing you could do about it if you're buying online. It's happened to all the best of us, but you're going to learn from it. The second thing is you want to fine tune your skills. So when you look on eBay and you see someone listing something as near mint or VF, and it is not, just by looking at it, you know, like, you could just save yourself so much time and be like, all right, you know, move on, screw that. The other thing that's really fun too, when you're grading, you're going to learn about the history of comics. You're going to learn about how they were produced. You're going to learn about the years that these were printed. You're going to learn, you know, why, like you were saying about stuff being ripped off as returns, or extra staples that are not actually extra staples that will hurt the grade. You know, there's printing processes and that were staples were at. You'll get a book with 4 staples and you might panic and be like, oh crap, I got burned. But there were books that were printed without the covers and then needed to be printed. They're more needed to be printed, so they added the cover after the fact, and then they have an additional 2. There's just stuff like that you're going to learn about the different eras of printing. Certain books, you'll know, that's common in that book. Amazing Spider-Man 300 has like a choppy edge. You know what I mean? Yeah. That right edge sometimes looks a little choppy. and you'd look at it and be like, "Oh, this is trimmed. Someone sold me a trimmed book."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've done that.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's, just like people when they see, get cases from CGC, the older cases, and you could open it a little bit. Oh, this is tampered with. Someone swapped the book out. You just got to educate yourself so you're not causing yourself unnecessary stress, and you could be a smart buyer, and you could buy kind of on the fly if you're at a con, and someone's showing you a book and they have it at a certain price and they think that it's this certain grade, and you're like, no, or they overgrade it and you're like, yeah, that's a steal. This isn't a 5. This is like an 8.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because that happens a lot too.
Exactly. Yeah. And then and then you go back to that person again and again. And then I sidebar, I was at New York Comic Con this year. I don't know if I told this to you guys in one of the chats. I couldn't believe my ears. Someone asked a vendor to pull. I don't know who the vendor was. Never seen him. Pull a book off the wall. Ask for the price. The vendor told him the price. The guy said, "Well, what's the grade range you have on it?" The vendor tells the guy, "That's not my job. That's yours." I could not believe it. I couldn't believe that's what I was hearing. And the guy just handed it back to him, and that was the end of that. Yeah, exactly. So,
what a way to end a conversation.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if the guy bought it or but this is the kind of thing where you need to have that knowledge to be able to say, well, I think it's this. I'm offering you $15 less than what you have it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And speaking of shows, I mean, just a little tip. I mean, and this is so easy to forget. I don't care who you are or how long you've been doing this for. If you go to a show and you take a book out, look at the back cover.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the back cover. I don't care if it's on the wall. I don't care if the guy tells you that it's an 8.0 and it looks like an 8.0 on the front. You gotta always look at the back cover. If you're spending like $2 on the book and you don't feel like wasting your time, if you get burned for $2, it's not a big deal. But if you start getting burned for 10, 20, 50, 100, like, you got to check the back cover. I mean, back covers have notorious, especially on, bronze and silver and copper, writing. A lot of writing, a lot of tanning, a lot of foxing. People don't check staples, right? That's another huge miss. Are there rusty staples? Because guess what? You could have a great looking book with rusty staples and that destroys the grade. You can have a great looking book with a little bit of water damage, destroys the grade. You would say, well, you could see water damage. That's easy. How could it be a nice book? I've seen nice books with water damage.
Former Trout has a question about staples, by the way.
Yeah. That would be a Clayton Crane special, I guess.
Yes. And that's followed up by Jose Crespo's 4 staples and an acetate cover.
Yeah. Perfect segue. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I like when the chat plays off of each other. Very well.
It just works. It just works. Coupons. Yeah, I mean, you can start getting into the stuff with listen, unless I'm buying if I'm buying a big Silver Age book at a show, then I'm going to start counting pages and looking for cutouts. But if it's like a back bin, like I'll be honest with you, I'm going to take the chance on not counting the pages on the back bins that I do, and I'm not going to check for the cutouts. If it's a book that we notoriously see that the stamps cut out, then I'm going to ask. And if the guy's not confident, I'm going to check myself. But staples, rusty staples, is not only is the cover attached, but is the centerfold attached. Like these are some of the things that you got to check for if you have the book in front of you, right?
That and definitely if you're buying like a collection or something, and maybe not from a knowledgeable vendor, or just going to pick up boxes and you come across stuff, learn how to check for like color touch, look for bleeding, through the cover and stuff like that, because you could easily miss that, and then it's just like you sell it, someone says it comes back a purple label. Never happened to me, luckily, but it's just not good.
Yeah. As far as,
I got a purple label.
Let's talk a little bit about the 9.8 versus 9.6, because I think a lot of people, and you know what, and I didn't want to make this about CGC, but I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'll call a spade. Like, I think they get it right a lot more often than they get it wrong. Right? Like, I don't even think it's close. Like, for me personally, I've sent in, I don't know, 200 books, maybe more. And they're within a grade minus or plus of what I think it is. 9 times out of 10. I mean, they're seeing thousands of books a day, right? And of course, we want them to be better. Like, these are our babies, right? We're spending money on these things. We want their turnaround times to be better. We want their, quality control to be better. Their shipping, everybody has a, and you could talk about all that stuff. But as far as the grading goes specifically, I'll knock on wood, like, of course, there's times where I think I've gotten overgraded or undergraded, but it's usually, that's not the norm. That's like the small minority. And considering there's a human element, I think that there's going to be it's never going to be 100%. I think if you are looking for 100%, then just don't grade your books, because there's a human element. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. And you're never
going to get the person today that grades the same way as the guy grading tomorrow.
We always make the joke, maybe the guy got laid last night, or maybe the guy got kicked out of the house last night. These things are real. Think about when you go to work. You've had a good day or you've had a bad day. You missed something or you're on point. There's things that happen, right? And, I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to knock a profession, but how much do graders get paid? I mean, do you guys have any clue? I mean, is it
competitive salary? I don't know. That might be what they say.
My point is, it's like, how I don't want to say how serious is that person taking their job, because I'm sure like 90% of these guys, like they want to do the best they could do every day. But I don't know. Is that person's career, or is that just their job? Right? Like, how many graders I'm sure they have graders that have been there for 40 years, right? But I'm sure there's graders that are there for a few years and then they leave and they go doing something else.
It's like a big mystery. It's like, has anyone ever had a grader like that used to work there that's come on being like, I'm going to lay down the law for you guys. I'm going to tell you what my day was like. I haven't come across anything like that.
No.
That's the next show, Greg.
So, let's talk about the 9.8 versus 9.6 though. So, I had Greg send me over a picture of the page that kind of the summary page for each kind of grade level. And I'm sure it's similar to what's on, there you go, 9 meow. It's similar to what's on the website for their grading scale. But I figured let's take a look at the book together, right? So, let's see. Let's zoom in. I'm going to forget about 10 and 9s, because it's just 9s and 10s. Like, have you ever submitted a book grade, a book, Greg, that said like, I need to get a 9.9 on this?
No, I never expect a 9.9.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure like it wasn't just me, because I'm like, how do you? I don't think there's like you can expect it. Like it's.
I think the only ones expecting that is
like if you're submitting a ton.
Yeah, but those DC books that are like the
square bound,
like,
right,
square bounds, like that are like perfect.
Like that's the only time it would cross my mind.
Right, okay. But like there's been Secret War 8 9.9s, right? There's I mean, that's so. But anyway,
yes, please.
Sidebar. All right, so 9.8. What a lot of people don't realize is that obviously 9.8s can have defects because they're not 10s, right? So it's just a matter of how much of a defect can it have. So I'm going to read this, and then Greg, give me your what's the worst defect that you've seen on a 9.8? Not like they fucked up, but like this is a standard defect that you've seen on a 9.8 before. So I guess you could kind of see that, right? So let me zoom in one more, actually. There you go. All right, so 9.8. Only 1 or 2 handling defects are allowed in 9.8, although minor printing defects are acceptable, especially if they affect most or all of the print run. So, Greg, you spoke about that earlier. Newer comics often achieve a grade of 9.8, but those printed before 1965 are exceptionally rare because of poor printing quality and high attrition rate. In most cases, there are no surviving copies of Golden Age issues in a 9.8. So, that is actually a little bit different description than what they give on their website. But I know they go into more detail as you go through the book, right, Greg, for like what a 9.8 would be?
I think when you go to like the 9/8 section, because they have each like I said earlier, they well, to you guys in the beforehand, they have like they'll break down. And look, guys, I don't work for CGC. I don't have any. I'm not promoting this or anything. I just find it useful.
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
I'm just saying. Some people, you know, I don't want to.
Give me one sec.
It'll have a Hulk 181 starting from. I don't think they do. Oh, they do 9/9. Do they do 10 for this? I don't know if there's a 10 181 out there, but they have an example, I guess, of a 10.
Wow.
And then they go all the way down to 0.5, and we'll show you what that is supposed to look like in that grade. And then the page will give you the description of the 9/8. And yeah, it is a little longer, and goes into more detail about that grade and each one below.
It's amazing where these books have come to describe all this stuff and what to look for and what to, you know, we've come a long way since Wizard. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I know. I mean, I was a big fan of Wizard, and
me too.
And
you just got your Wizard back from CGC.
Yeah, I sent one to McFarlane signing, and that's one too.
See that segue? Was that good? You like that, right?
Yeah, that's the one. I'm not, you know, like magazine grading and stuff. I'm not too familiar with that, so I kind of just sent that to see how it would do, and you know, it came back near mint 9.4, so I was really happy with that.
That's a
Matt.
nice book too.
Yeah, where did we'd leave off with you?
I didn't. I mean, as soon as you started showing the book, I ran. So I don't know if you were able to. Did you read a passage of like?
No, it's
198?
long. It's
okay.
long.
It's too long.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, like, some of the things that you've seen on a 9.8 that's acceptable, like that you have seen consistently.
Acceptable? I mean, you want to look at it, and right off the bat, you don't. To me, I don't want to see like really noticeable, like a noticeable tick. You know what I mean? Like, I know there can be. But if you really look at a 9.8 and you notice it, like they're really small, you know, and are not noticeable unless you're really in there looking, because you could find something wrong with anything. And I guess that's what they mean by 10. Like no matter how hard you look, you can't find anything wrong. But
yeah,
I've seen 9.8s for sale, maybe more during like the COVID rush where everyone was sending everything and they seemed like they were really rushing through. You know, grading, and I've seen 9.8s where I'm like, man, I wouldn't pay 9.8 money for that, because you know, there's just way too much noticeable stuff. When it comes between a 9.6 and a 9.8, for me personally, like if I look at a book right off the bat, within like a couple seconds, can notice something on the spine, you know, because that's usually what hits you from a 9.8 to 9.6 is the spine. You know, like you're not going to get a 9.6 with a big crease on the corner or anything like that. Like you know. It's going to come down to that. It usually comes down to the spine.
Yeah, most of the time, right? Especially 9.8.
Yeah. And then people will get a little like worried, because I've had people be like, "What do you think of this? Should I submit it? You think it would be 9.8? Everything's perfect, but these corners here." And you know, some books do have bindery defects that will be allowed in 9.8. You know, you'll see that little like, I don't know, fuzzy corner or something.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I think, again, I'll say it again. Is that the more books you see, right? Even as far as like even the more books you see that are modern from Boom Studios, right? The more books you see that are you know, from the Silver Age that are in the Avengers title, like they have similar issues, right? You'll start to notice those issues start to replicate themselves over and over again. Mm-hmm. And like Greg was just talking about, you start to learn what books are notorious for, you know, like. You know, whether it's a bindiary tear or, you know, some color rub on the back cover, you know, these are things that maybe you think are not acceptable, but a certain degree is, right? Especially when it's repeated throughout the print run, right? That becomes acceptable. So a lot of things come into play when you're talking about 9.8, 9.6, because too much color rub on a book that shouldn't have color rub will take it down to that 9.6. Whereas, you know, Something's Killing the Children 1 does have this, like that same spot has a decent amount of color rub on the back cover. you know, and that's going to get you a 9/8. Same thing with a bindery tear. On a dark cover, it's going to look like it's a fucked up corner. But you could start telling the difference between what a printing kind of bindery tear versus a crushed corner is, right? So like these are the things that you have to familiarize yourself with, and repetition and the tools such as that CGC grading book, such as the Overstreet grading book, are going to be what make you a better grader, which is in the long run is just going to make your collection more streamlined, more valuable, less wasting time trying to get the right grade that you're looking for. You know,
another common book I see that gets confusing is First Electra Daredevil 168. Has like some of them have this like black streak along it's along. I'd have to see the cover of it, but there's like a black line that goes across, and so many issues have it, but it's a printing defect. Also, even 181s along where it says he's here, the world's greatest Canadian superhero.
Yep.
A lot of times there's like a white streak that's coming down, and that's considered a printing defect. You know, a lot of 181s have that.
And what do they do?
So yeah,
that?
If it's a printing defect, and it, like it said in Matt's description, and it's common, and they usually just don't. They treat it as
I lost Greg for a
a
second.
printing defect. They don't take off for that. Creases and tape pull and tears. You got to get a ruler. You got to measure it. If you got a crease that's 1 inch, you're going to get dinged more for a crease that's, you know, a quarter of an inch. Same thing with spine splits. They're killer. They'll nail you for spine splits.
Yeah,
I've had
usually
really nice.
Usually it's a 4.0 max. Usually, right? I mean, depending on how far up it is. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I've had beautiful looking like Hulk annual ones, king size annual, and I've seen them split like all the way up, like halfway up or more.
Do you remember my Alex Ross Black Adam cover?
No,
yeah, that has.
It's all no, I'm saying Matt. 'Cause I know we submitted it together.
Yeah.
I mean the black cover. It was absolutely perfect. Perfect. We didn't even see that there was a spine split on the book.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was there before, to be honest with you. I don't know what happened to that one, but
I mean the book was so perfect.
Yeah.
And then they sent it back at 8.0, and the note said spine split, and we're like, what?
Yeah, it was like a half-inch spine split or something like that. And it
yeah, they'll nail you for spine splits.
Yep.
And they're
Greg,
more common.
Greg, the book it's a black cover. The one that the evil whatever, like it was just him standing there, black cover, gorgeous Alex Ross, and then oh man, it kills me, that book.
Stings, right, when you get it back, because then you're like, you want to just break it back out. I should have just kept it raw.
What's the point of having it? Yeah.
That's also the problem. Sometimes that grade, man, it makes you like. I put a post up a few weeks ago, and I cracked out a bunch of books that were like in the sixes and sevens, and I was just like, these look so much nicer than. I don't disagree with the grade, but they just to me look nicer than the grade, and I want to enjoy them without that stigmatization.
Right, sure.
Am I saying that right? Of the grade.
Stigmata.
I don't. Not stigmata, but
no.
Good movie.
Yeah.
So I've cracked them out and I've kept them raw, and I just feel like I've enjoyed them more, you know. So and collect in however you want. That's basically when it comes. Yeah.
We're not, you know, and again, going back to, I'm just going to keep saying it over and over. It doesn't matter if you're not sending books to CGC. Like, this is still an important tool to have in your arsenal.
Sure.
You know, because it's how you decide, am I overpaying for this book that I'm buying raw that I plan on putting on in Mylar? Am I overpaying for it, or am I getting a great deal on it? Right? So, like, you have to know, like, just because a book fits into a mold that it looks like even a 7.0, well, there's 7.0s that I've seen that look better than, you know, 8.0s, and I've seen 5.0s look better than 7, because whether it's the back cover or something on the interior. So there is a lot that goes into it, and you're never going to always get it right, you know. And as far as a 9.8 to a 9.6, I guess I didn't touch on that, but I know that you are allowed a slight, tiny bit of a color break on on the spine. It has to be very light, and it has to be very like an eighth of an inch or something along those lines. Soon as you get to a point where you can see the color break from like, you know, arm's reach away, then it's different. If you start putting in like this and you can see the color break, that's when they start to get a little bit acceptable. As far as non-color breaking, I've seen, I want to say consistently, like 2 ticks on the spine that are non-color breaking, that aren't like super deep. That again, I've seen that consistently graded as a 9.8. As soon as you get to that 3rd or 4th non-color breaking dent on the spine, or if they're really deep where you could see them without bending the book, 9.6. Again, color rub. If you go color rub where it's beyond, like if you've seen multiple copies of that same issue and you notice that there's color rub on only one of them, there's a good chance you're going to get a 9.6 on that, unless it's very faint, you know. So like these are the things those are the little things that get you between a 9.8 and 9.6. Yeah, Guy Forge, see, showing off his 9.6.
I think it's Overstreet, or
they use
the word like unobtrusive a lot. So you got to really think, like, is something catching your eye? Go with your gut, like, oh, I saw that. They're going to see it too. You know what I mean? So don't like send something in being like, maybe they'll miss it. You know what I mean? Maybe they will. I don't know, but that's not going to work out 9 times out of 10. You know what I mean?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you send something in hoping that it'll press out, because I mean, after we get our books pressed, we don't see them again. You know, some people get them back and then send them themselves, which I think is a mistake unless you don't trust the person, because you don't want them handled, right? Like you want them handled as little as possible. You want them mailed as little as possible. You want them packed up as few times as possible. So yeah, 9.8 to 9.6. I mean, that's a bit, you know, there's a big money gap there. So I get that people can't stand the differences, right? Because sometimes they're so minute that takes it down to that 9.6. But there is a standard, you know, and maybe it's not consistent 100% of the times, but it is pretty far up there. You know, if you don't want to spend money on the book, the book that Greg showed, which has a ton of examples, or the Overstreet great book, go to your own collection. Take out your 9.8s. Look at them. Here's a 9.8. Is there anything on the spine? Here's another 9.8. Is there anything on the spine? I'm sure you probably have it. If you have 5 9.8s in your collection, you're going to be able to use that as a scale for yourself to then take a look at the raw book that you have sitting next to them and realize, is this a 9.8 or not?
Sure.
Like experience, repetition, and other examples are going to make you, you know, a better grader. Not a great grader, right? You don't have to be a great grader, just a better grader than you are today, you know.
And get another set of eyes on it. One thing I do, which is kind of ridiculous, I will go to my wife and I'll say, what do you think of this? Like, how does this look? Does anything catch your eye? Because she has no idea what she's looking at. She doesn't care, but she will take the time to like kind of just like look something over, and if she catches something,
that might be better than anything though.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you're giving it to someone who has no idea of what you're talking about, and then but that stuck out to them. They noticed that. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like the untrained eye, you know, notices it. So, man, that must really stick out. You know what I mean? Or it didn't.
So you know this is a good
Brandon
question.
Metro has a good question. Yeah. He said, do you guys store comics face to face, or do you just rotate the stack every 30 to avoid the spine all on one side of the box? Any thoughts on this?
So my thing is 2 things. I use fullbacks, which definitely help with kind of leveling out, you know, the staple. And I don't pack my boxes full of comics where they're squished, because that's how you're just going to get those dents, you know. So I don't do the flipping. I used to do it, and what I did was I just bought extra boxes. So I just keep them where there's breathing room between them, almost like, think of like an accordion. If you could do that with your books, you're safe. If they're flopping over, that's not good either. So there is a happy medium. So whether you buy one of those comic barricades, you know, that are pretty cool, or you stick a t-shirt or a sweatshirt in there to kind of keep them from flopping over. You want something in there to you don't want this and you don't want this, right? So you need kind of like that little. Just think of like I said, think of the accordion. If you have that effect in your box, you're fine. You don't have to flip them, and you don't have to worry about a spine dents. What do you think, Greg?
I kind of agree with you. I don't stack them. I keep a lot of breathing room. I don't pack them like tight, meaning I use I have them all in these like archivals.
Yeah.
So I like those, a quick pull up, and it kind of just feels like it's a little more sturdy.
Yep.
When they're up against each other. So and they also look so good in those. So
yeah, a little Mylar with a fullback.
Yeah.
You're trying to get your hands on those today, though.
Yeah. Well, it's getting a little better. It's
such a. I mean, you can't cover grading in one show. You know what? You could go, like people could have trouble with the 9.6 and the 9.8, and one next person could have the trouble. Man, I have a really hard time between like 3.5 and 4.5. You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
That go ahead.
It's just such a topic that you could just like, talk about to death, and that's one of the reasons I love it. You know what I mean? You could talk about, when your thumbnail about making money. I know people that go to shows, look at the graded books, and see, oh, this wasn't pressed. I'm going to take this out. This is a 9.8. This is not a 9.4 or whatever. And they'll just buy a bunch of slabs that day, crack them, submit them, and then you never know. You might only need one. Not a 9.4 to a 9.8 could be $1,000 or more. You know what I mean?
Well,
especially on an older book.
Yeah, that difference we talked about is crazy sometimes.
Yeah, it could be on a New Mutants 98 or a Batman Adventures 12. Those are books that people might just willingly, just submit to CGC and not press them, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
And Batman Adventures 12 is that purple cover. If you go and you see a 9.4, and you could easily look at the spine, and that book really highlights defects. So that's a good one to look at.
You want to crack that and resubmit
that too?
Yeah.
That's a great book. So stuff like that. Yeah, there's just so many ways you can attack it, for so many different angles. You could utilize your skill of grading to benefit you. You know what I mean?
So it's funny that I wanted to kind of, we're gonna wrap up this segment, and I kind of want to end it with lower grade books, right? And I've said it on this channel before, and I'm sure guys heard me say it probably about 10 times. I don't know where I got it. Somebody much wiser than me in this community, they said to me that grading high grade books is a science, and grading low grade books is an art. Because, like you just said, how do you know? Like, if you start looking at defects on a book that's like a 2.0 or 3.0, it becomes immeasurable, right? Like, you start realizing, unless it has those, like you said, like, this grade level can't have this, and your book has that, then you know that that's your starting point or lower, right? So as far as grade, and I actually look at the grades of lower age, Silver Age books a lot, because we were able to grab a big collection of Silver Age Avengers, and we've sold a good amount of them. And before every show, I sit there, I flip through them, I look at the covers. So I've had the opportunity to do that to books that I'm handling that I know are older, that I know I have to be pretty close on that grade when I'm going to sell it. I'm not just keeping it for myself. I'm like, hey, whatever grade I get back, like, great, you know what I mean? And it's difficult. And the only thing I can do to really kind of come close is, again, comparison. You're looking at that spine. You're looking at how squished the square bound is, or how much spidering there is on a cover, or how much Marvel chipping there is around an edge, how big the dog ear is, how much water damage is through the book. Did it go all the way through? Is it just on the back cover? All of those things, like, it becomes an algorithm in your head. It has to be. Yeah. When you're looking at a grade on a lower grade book, you have to take all these factors and start kind of like doing your own calculation and saying, like, I've seen this before, and here's where it was at. Or I haven't seen these combinations before, so I'm not really sure how to grade this one.
It's like,
it's
like
get another opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When it comes down to those grades, it's really like the amount, how many are there, all the different types. There's going to be spine ticks, there's going to be creases, there's going to be, stains. You're lucky if you get, some kind of a defect where it's like, all right, well, at least I know it can't be max that because it has this. You know what I mean? So you really just have to start counting up and measuring, looking for stains, getting the flashlight out, stuff like it is like kind of like an art, you know, as nerdy as that sounds, but
I don't even think it's like an art. It's anything that you're gonna practice, that you're gonna put time into. It's the same thing as sports. It's the same thing as your work. It's the same thing as, you know, if you put your time in and you put your practice in, you're gonna get better. It's inevitable.
Yeah. And the more money you're going to make.
And the more,
like a job.
Turn that around into money at that point, because you're going to notice things that you didn't notice before. And you're going to get better and better as you go along. And that's going to turn into money. I mean, it's bound to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna wrap up my, you know, I have one more take, and if I leave you with one tip, and then I'll let these guys have their final thoughts on the grading stuff. And it's funny, Tricky Trapster.
Yep.
What's that?
Don't leave me with just a tip.
Tricky Trapster just read my mind. I was gonna say, if I could leave you with one tip, you know, that, you know, I haven't talked about yet, is become an expert on what a 6.0 looks like. Okay, forget about, like, I'm not talking about moderns, right? Because again, modern stuff, it's, do you have a 9.8 or do you have a 9.6? You know, like, I still want to know what a 9.2 looks like, because if I'm buying a raw modern book, me personally, I don't buy raw modern books that I don't think are 9.6s or 9.8s. I just don't. Unless I really want the cover and I just want it in my collection, or it's just a special circumstance, I don't buy modern books that I don't think are going to hit 9.8. So while I know how to know what a very fine is, because I really do like copper and Bronze Age books, it's not for modern. So why I say know what a 6.0 is, because that's like a really good point. That's like the difference between like a nice book and then you start to get down to those, he called them reader copies, but to me, reader copies like 2.0 or less. You know what I mean? Find out, you know, figure out what a 6.0 looks like, and then you could tell yourself, does this look better than a 6.0 or does this look worse than a 6.0? And then you could kind of go from there. Then you start fine tuning what a 7.0 is and what a 4.0 is, right? And you start spreading from there. But a 6.0 is a really good middle of the road, mid-range grade for those silver and Bronze Age books, to kind of say, like, is this a better book? Should I be paying more for this, or should I be paying less for this?
Well,
right?
It's a good barometer. It's a good barometer
so.
to see kind of where you are. Like,
so
yeah, you can get really
to go. Yeah,
6.0s and 6.5s. Like, you could find even 4.5s. You know, you could find books that really present well in those grades. And
right.
But yeah, it is a good grade range to know. I like you know, 8.0 to 8.5 can be tough too, because they could trick people to be thinking that they're, you know, they're really nice. And
sure,
you know, so you know, you could say that almost about, you know, any grade around that. 7.5 could be tricky. I don't know. It's if I'm going to leave anyone with advice, it's just, you know, if you really want to, you know, learn, just spend the time, you know, and get that confidence and start selling books raw, and start submitting books to CGC if you have the money. And I know it's expensive, so you get an idea. I've definitely sent books in because I didn't know what something was.
Curious,
Curiosity. As an experiment, you know, as like a test subject. I do like the.
Be careful, Matt. Curiosity did kill the cat.
Yeah, well, that's.
I do. I have links. I have links on my phone. Look at a you know, a CGC book, and then look at a CBCS, you know, graded book,
yes,
and look. Yeah, you know what? And
that's another show.
Get one of the book's $30. I got it. I think it's. I mean, $30 doesn't break the bank, and you have all these pictures and descriptions, which is so helpful. I just think showing pictures is so helpful, because how many times do you come? I didn't know what cockling was. You know, that seems like a good. Show. Yeah, seems like a good defect.
That's definitely
for
another show. Yeah,
I know it's the defects, but that's another show too.
Yeah, cockling is like a pressing defect, and you know, maybe Erod's heard of cockling a little more. I don't know.
Wow.
But...
All right, I'm calling Erod out. Erod out on the cockling. He can't even defend himself.
The guy's not even here. I mean,
come on.
Yeah, $30 bucks. I mean, you're gonna make that over and over again with that book. I feel like it's going to save you $30. It's going to make you $30 10 times, 50 times over, to be honest with you. So
yeah, if you got time, go to Barnes and Noble and sit there and read it. Then
there you go, or read it on the shitter, like
if
Murph
you could
does.
find a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
they're still around. They were Blockbuster.
So guys, I mean, this is stuff that we could talk about a million times over and over.
Yeah.
If you have specific questions, put them in the comments section. If you're watching this on the rewind, or even if you're watching it now and you're thinking about something and you want like a longer winded answer, write it in the comments of the video, and we could try to answer it best we can.
And join the Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, it's called Making the Grade. Jump in there. You'll see people putting up books all the time. If you don't get a response right away from someone, which usually you do, just don't list like 10 books at a time for grades, one at a time, picture, front, back, highlight defects, stuff like that. And we got admins and moderators in there and community members that just like
3,000.
I think like 3,700.
Wow. Okay, so that's a good swath of the community. So
check it out. There's a lot of people
Greg.
in there. MTG. There's just a lot of people
Greg.
that are from old school people in there too that have been that are overstreet advisors, stuff like that.
Nice. All right, so changing gears a little bit, we're going to talk about some MCU. We're going to talk about some DCU, but first, Guy Forge is going to address the paperweight in the room.
Oh, you want to see the paperweight? Greg,
we're just joking around.
I don't know if you heard about this.
Oh no, I did. I saw. Very congrats.
Saw that? Hey, how you doing? Can you see that? I don't know if you can
Slight
see it.
glare.
Slight glare. Let me see.
That's
How about
pretty.
that?
Best collaborative project or event, comic book talk, Pressable Defects from the CBCA Awards. So we know our history on this show with the CBCA Awards. Jay's not here to talk about that. But yeah, Guy put up a post today, and basically just a shout out. It's not something we I think Guy summed it up perfectly. He said we're not award type of guys, but we also don't want to not acknowledge it because some of you went out there. We didn't talk about it. We didn't ask to be nominated. We didn't ask to be voted for, but some of you just went and did it anyway. And we want to send, number one, a thanks to CBCA because he puts a lot of time and effort and money into it, and
a lot of work doing it.
Nothing in return. Right?
And I know he took a lot of advice over the last year or so on doing this one and everything like that, which a lot of people gave some advice to him, which was great. I think he turned it into a good thing. So, and we thank everybody that got involved and thank all the defects out there who voted. Obviously, we know we're, like Maddie's saying, we're not big award guys. We do it because we love you guys and we love what we do. We have fun with it. So it was just nice to get acknowledged. That was very nice of them.
That's it. That's for you guys. I mean, that ain't for us. That's for you guys. So
I put it up there for you. Look,
there you go. Let's talk about some MCU. MCU guys, you want to talk about a little MCU? There's a couple.
Sure.
There's a couple decent things. Well, wait. You know what we got to do first.
Uh-oh.
I don't even know where it is.
Run that fucking.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
That's not it.
That's
but
not
that
it.
is true. Yep.
Ooh.
Doom. I mean, we've talked about him. He's coming in this. He's coming in that. He's coming in this. Well, at this point, we're just praying, hoping that they get it right, and at some point that he shows up. But the latest, there was a 4chan post, which take it with a grain of salt, but we all want to believe it, right? But this one, it does make a little bit of sense. I'm just going to read it. Dr. Doom to debut in the Thunderbolts movie. So here's what it says. Dr. Doom is in Thunderbolts and not in any insignificant way or a credit cameo. He's in a movie in a featured role as the leader of Latveria, which is where the climax of the film will take place. He is not the villain of the film, or even a villain at all. He's presented more like T'Challa in Civil War than anything else. But the fallout from the climax of Thunderbolts, particularly the actions of the Red Hulk, will lead to him being thrust into the MCU in a major way. Just my quick take on this. It seems like a very, if you're gonna throw like some bullshit out there, I feel like you could have come up with something way better than this. So I'm gonna say that was either. I'm not saying that this will happen. I'm gonna say that at some point maybe this was pitched, and then was scrapped, which obviously we'll never know, right? It just seems like very clean and tidy, this little description here, and it doesn't go over the top, and a lot of things make sense here. A lot of it fits together, especially with the Thunderbolts. And maybe it's just because I want this guy in the MCU. But I don't know. I mean, I could see it happening. I think I would give it like a 50-50 shot at this point, but I don't know. Anything...
It seems super underwhelming to me. Like
that's what I mean, right? Like if you're gonna make something up, I feel like it would be more in your face.
I want to say I would be like Oh, they can't do that. They won't do that. But I don't know if they. At this point, I don't know if that's how they bring Doom in. Like that would just be like,
So that would upset you the way if they bring him in that way. That would upset you. That would be a lackluster entry.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just like used to still caught up on like the way like Thanos kind of came in at the end of like the first Avengers, just like dropped. You weren't expecting it, Okay. I want to be surprised, I don't want to know almost that like.
Well, don't watch the Defects then, because that's your first mistake. I'll tell you that right now.
I guess it's hard to compare it back to 2012. Then I guess you know what I mean. But I don't know. I just don't. I think to me it would feel. Someone said wait for Fantastic Four. That's what I would be expecting at least.
100%. He's not. I can tell you right now, he's not going to be waiting for the Fantastic Four. He will be in before the Fantastic. He will be in before the Fantastic Four movie. He will not be the villain of Fantastic Four. That is kind of, I don't want to say it's confirmed, but we've talked to enough people that we know that. We know that much.
I heard you say climax twice, so you got me excited to begin with.
Yep.
And I'll tell you this much: I'm okay with that. I'm okay with bringing him in and building him up. I'm sick of the throwing him in there for no reason and giving me a hero or a villain and here he is and this is what he does and blah blah blah. I want the story. I want to build him up. I want you to tell me where he's from. I want you to tell me why he's there, and I want him to get so mad that he turns into a fucking villain and wrecks some shit. So I'm okay with that.
This was interesting. I was going to talk about this, but you dive down a rabbit hole with it. But it says I can't read it because they should have cut a ton of shit from Wakanda Forever and had a Doom subplot in that movie. It was a perfect place, and I honestly think. We've talked about this a couple times, and me and Guy talked about it when we went to see it. There was clearly something big cut out of that movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple big plot holes, especially early on in the movie, that there was a piece of the puzzle that was supposed to fit in there that they just left out. Was it Doom? I mean, he's definitely a candidate for, or at least some type of, the fact that Lake Bell's character definitely played a bigger part than what they showed in the final edit.
Oh yeah,
right.
You don't even know what happened.
It was such a weird and the vibranium detecting machine. How the government got their hands on it magically, just huge plot holes. And I feel like there was something there for Doom. We heard a ton about a post-credit scene, a leaked image that was taken down like very quickly and was being actively taken down. I'm not going to say it was by Disney, but every time it popped up, it was getting wiped. That only happens when there's significance to it. There may have been a cut of that movie where he was in the end credit scene. We heard a ton from reliable sources that they were like, this is being told to us. Like, this is in the movie. And then clearly it wasn't. That doesn't mean that it wasn't there and it got cut out. So I feel like Doom's a little closer than we think. So Thunderbolts, it doesn't... when you first hear it, it doesn't make sense, but the more, if you dig into some of the detail, and if you go into some of the history of all these characters, it does make sense, so.
And then, and I'm okay with a story. Give me a story.
Yeah. All right, this was kind of, You probably could have done a whole show on just the DC stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out from this past 4 or 5 days. Hyper, what's up? Black Crown, what's up, buddy? James Bicknell, the regulars are in here. All right. So we heard a lot about. It just sounds like that DC is literally canceling everything, right? That's there was like 15 articles that I could have shown that this is getting canceled, that's getting canceled, blah blah blah. So James Gunn basically responded, and here's what James Gunn said. He said, "So as for the story yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter, some of it's true, some of it's half true, some of it's not true, and some of it we haven't decided yet whether it's true or not." So basically, a very generic answer. Gunn is referring to a report from the Hollywood Reporter that stated several legacy DC sequels, including Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 and a proper Man of Steel sequel, had been canceled for not aligning with Gunn and Safran's new and developing vision for the shared universe. There would be an unavoidable, he goes on to say, there will be an unavoidable transitional period as we moved into telling a cohesive story across film, TV, animation, and gaming. But in the end, the drawbacks of that transitional period were dwarfed by the creative possibilities and the opportunity to build upon what was worked into DC so far and to help rectify what has not. I'm going to tell you right now, DC is, whatever you think the DC is today is not what it's going to be tomorrow. All right. It sounds like Gunn and Safran are expected to present their DC Universe Bible to Warner Bros. Discovery CEO sometime next week.
Wow.
This is going to start to get real. Like, this is going to go in a different whatever direction DC was going in, expect a hard right turn.
I don't think they were too happy with Black Adam either.
I don't think they were either. Disappointing at the box office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going to get scrapped. I mean, I think Guy even talked about it before. And again, we don't know how much truth to any of this is. But Michael Keaton was supposed to do a Batman Beyond film. That sounds like it got scrapped. I don't know the details on it. I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of the stuff we're going to find out after the fact, right? But major shakeups over at DC. And I think it's, honestly, to me, it seems like a really good thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw what James Gunn has done with the Guardians, and we saw what he done with Peacemaker. And clearly, Kevin Feige was not happy that James Gunn went to DC, and DC couldn't wait to get their hands on James Gunn. And when you get James Gunn, you know what you're signing up for. You know you're not signing up for somebody that's going to not tell a good story and put I hate the word, but he's going to put an agenda over the story. He's going to put, here's my message before the story, before pushing the overarching DCU forward. And he's not going to do that. His number one job is to make a good overall story throughout.
I don't think you're using a bad word.
Just an overused word.
But use it correctly. I don't think he has his own agenda. Let's put it that way. So he's not going to put his own agenda over telling a good story. You follow? And I think that's okay.
What do you think, Greg? Did you hear about the cancellations this week? I mean, it kind of was like a shitstorm. Just got fired off at us.
I don't follow too much of it. I come across. I don't search for it, but I think, like you said, it's a good thing. I mean, there clearly haven't been going in the right direction. It's become almost like, people just don't seem to have any confidence when these movies come out that they're gonna be good. And there's so many awesome characters and potential for DC, and I think James Gunn knows how to utilize that. I remember, what was it, on Halloween or something, he tweeted like a picture of like Deadman or something like that. Like, there's all these awesome characters that I feel like he could have so much fun with and bring in, just like he brought Guardians, like no one I don't remember really anyone expecting that to be as, look at them now, you know what I mean? Like, Did you guys think that movie was going to take off the way it did?
No one thought that. You couldn't have guessed that.
Look at he has this creative ability to bring these kind of like these characters to, to the forefront and make them special, like Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and who knows what he can do, with these DC characters now that he's going to have his hands on them.
And I mean, just to address, so everyone has an agenda. Graham Whale, everyone has an agenda. That's what your statement is. And I think that's true, but is your agenda making a good film, or is your agenda pushing out a specific message? And then Rudy goes on to say, movies should be entertaining, not a political platform. And I half agree with that, and I half don't. Because you're going to get undertones. Any good movie, film, show, book is going to have undertones of what's happening in society, right? Sure. That's because that's what you can relate to. But when it overshadows what you're there for, when it becomes what you're there for, then you're not. Then you're just a political commentary, right? Then you just go and watch Fox News or CNN, right? It has to be an undertone. Everybody always uses the argument that Stan Lee and his X-Men run had politics in them there all the time, and that's true. He did. But it was in the undertone. It was the undertone. It became part of the story, not the story, right? Mm-hmm. There's a big difference. There's a fine line between using it as part of the story and making it the story. When it becomes your agenda, or when you use it to further the agenda of making a good story, making a good storyline, bringing in a character that has great potential and maybe is tied to a set of political circumstances that you're familiar with, whether you share those circumstances or it's just something that you've seen because you follow what happens in society. But when that really becomes the story, then it's no good. Yeah. And I think almost everyone can agree with that. I don't know if you could disagree, with that statement where it can't be completely taken out, because then you're in a vacuum. You're removed from society, but it also can't overshadow what you're there for.
I think, I think the message that I hear the most from people that's kind of like in agreement is we don't want stuff shoved down our throat. You don't want to feel like it's forced. If you have a message to send, and that's fine, but
speak for like yourself, Greg.
Want to you don't want to be bombarded by someone's agenda, because everyone. I don't want to I don't want to get into it, but
you're saying enough. I get it.
You don't want you're not saying anything wrong, and it's your opinion, so.
It's like Matt was saying, it shouldn't overshadow, meaning I don't think it needs to be forced. If it feels forced, nothing should feel forced. If it happens to fit into the story, that's great. But if it's made purposely put in there for, then I don't think it's needed.
You can definitely tell the fluidity of something when it's forced.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, Black Panther, even the comics, like, those were real issues going on, and they were geared towards that. But guess what? It was part of the puzzle. It wasn't the round peg in the square hole. So if that's your story and that's the story you're telling, then tell it, and tell it well. But if you're trying to tell two stories at the same time and you're just like bringing this in and you're like shoving, like it's like you're just trying to it doesn't make any sense. It's got to fit. It has to flow. Marvel and DC had lost their way with some of this stuff, in the fact that it's almost like they're doing two parallel things instead of having one cohesive storyline. It's like almost they're running two things just to appease somebody. I don't know who it is that they're trying to appease, because clearly there's enough people in this community that read the comics, watch the movies, watch the TV shows, spend the money, that aren't happy. And yes, I understand that there's going to be people out there that no matter what you do, if there's any political connotation in the movie that is not aligned with theirs, they're going to be upset. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and piss on that person, but like, that's to each their own. That is a smaller minority than the people that just don't want it to become the overarching theme, where it's like, I don't care if it's aligned with me or not. If it just doesn't fit into the story, just leave it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it's a good, and I'm not going to cut you guys off, but it's a transition right into this next slide. And I thought it was important to use because James Gunn shuts down unnecessary race swap criticisms. And this is, and I think we've said this on this channel 100 times over. Okay, so here's what it says. And again, this is kind of the same conversation, so don't think I cut you off. Come in with any ideas that you want. When the fan asked, this was Twitter, a fan directly asked the director, meaning James Gunn, Jimmy G, as we call him here on the channel, why he had race swapped the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 instead of casting an actor like Mark Hamill. Gunn responded, because Chuck is the best actor I've ever worked with. That's why. Has zero to do with race. In a subsequent tweet, Gunn highlighted that the actor had previously worked with him on HBO Max Peacemaker. Greatest actor and greatest guy around. No one has ever made casting choices for any of my films other than me, he says. So this is a perfect example of that. The race swapping and the gender swapping, I'm not afraid to sit here and say it, that sometimes, you know what? It doesn't feel right. And then other times like this, an amazing actor. I fucking loved him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, in Peacemaker. And I think he's going to fucking kill the High Evolutionary. And James Gunn does too. So when you're hiring an actor because he's the greatest actor you ever worked with, I don't give a shit if he's purple, brown, green. I don't fucking care. But when you fill a role and you say that this role has to meet these requirements before you even say like these are the best actors for that role, then fuck you. Then you've lost my respect, because now you're trying to fulfill some type of quota, which isn't. I mean, that you're not doing anybody justice by doing that. You're not doing justice to the group that you're trying to not marginal. I mean, what is it that you're trying to accomplish there? It doesn't make sense to me. If you're telling me that this is the best actor for that role, I am fucking 1000% on board with it. And this is a perfect example of James Gunn saying that right out loud, because some people think that, oh, James Gunn's not going to race swap. James Gunn's not going to gender swap. He's going to do what's best for the film. And I'm a fucking 1000% on board with that.
You couldn't have said it any better. There's no explanation that needed behind it. When it needs to be done, it needs to be done for the purposes of bettering the film, and I agree to that 100%. And I feel like his statement was wonderful. I mean, how do you explain it any better than that? It's a guy I work with. It's a guy I worked with. He's phenomenal. He fits the role. I want him to play it, and it's like knowing what someone can do with your baby, like your role. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this guy is going to kill it. I know he's going to bring whatever I need to the table. As a director and as a writer, like, you have to, like, how do you not stand by that? Like,
I think that too. That what did you say? The fan said that he did this.
He said, "Why? Like why did you race swap the villain instead of casting someone like Mark Hamill?"
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying I don't think there was. No, I agree with what James Gunn is saying, because I think that if he had and he was just sticking to an agenda, I don't think we wouldn't see Will Poulter as Adam Warlock.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have, like he looks like Adam Warlock. You know what I mean? Most people were like, why the hell did you choose this kid with the eyebrows? This like kind of goofy, kid from that vacation movie or whatever that movie was.
Or the Millers. Yeah, Meet the Millers.
But he clearly has a vision, and he clearly sees something in these people and sticks by it. And more often than not, I mean, it works out. So I think I think I trust in him as a director when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I want to.
I agree with what everything you said. I agree with 100%.
Yeah, I want to give Matt a shout out for just great views this evening, and great talk, and everyone in the chat is seeing how Matt's on fire. So naturally, you know what, this one's for Matt. I'm gonna go a little old school because he needs it at this point.
Hey there, Defects. Guess who's back for some more super chats? Yeah, baby. Let's go, Defects.
Little slap for Matt. Little slap for Matt.
I appreciate you, Guy Forge.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate the every single one of you in this chat right now, if you could hit that thumbs up for us, that would be fucking great. Help us out.
I mean, it's
little
about
algorithm
time
help.
with the thumbs up. Yeah, please.
Why not? You know? Somebody was saying something about Constantine, and that was actually on the list of this Hollywood Reporter thing that said maybe is going to get canceled. I really fucking don't think it will, because fans, I think, will go crazy. It has such a cult following, and if Keanu wants to do it, I mean, he's interviewed and he said a bunch of times that is one of the remakes that he wants to make the most. And he's tried for years to get it remade. So I can't see that one going out the window. And I would look really forward to seeing that, to be honest with you.
I didn't do that to the screen, by the way.
I know. What are you doing, man? I thought you were like, come on.
I thought you had a big announcement to make.
Yeah, so did I. I'm like, fuck, he's got me putting the spotlight on me. I'm like, fuck
no, I didn't.
this. Like,
well,
what are we doing?
here's your big announcement before we leave for the night. I mean.
Amazing.
Sensational. I see that lady every time when I go, that's someone's mother, man.
Yeah, she was. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? She's also smashing cans with her titties on spring break, so apparently she doesn't give a fuck.
Yes, she
know?
is.
But we got more to talk about. We're not going anywhere yet, so don't leave.
No.
Yeah, don't leave. I mean, because, I mean, there is a big announcement. It's just not by me, Greg.
Nope.
Oh, King
Greg.
Kon 4.
Greg. That's your
cue,
cue, Greg.
Whenever you put up one of those clips, it freezes my. I have to play catch up.
His brain.
Like, yeah. No, it I don't know. It does something in my my computer, but there it is.
Look at this Predator homage
by Alex Garcia, man. I think it's amazing. I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, it's like
I love Alex Garcia.
I think he knocked it out of the park.
As always.
And I'm totally pumped to talk about this one, because Matt, you and I have been talking about it a lot, and it's finally, you know, within reach, I guess. Where do you want to start?
I think you're being too humble. I feel like you're being too humble here. Like, this is a big fucking event, right? Like, you've done 3 of these shows. They've all been fucking amazing. People have driven from Ohio to get there. We heard a little rumor that maybe someone's coming down from up north. I don't want to say who, and I don't want to say from where. And now this year, I don't know if you guys in the chat have been to these before, but this year there's some major changes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to highlight a couple of those changes?
Yeah, let's get into it. So this is we're doing a 2-day show. We're really excited about it.
2 days.
And yeah, so it's Saturday and Sunday, March 25th and March 26th. We got, you know, a decent amount of feedback saying that they wanted the show to be on Sundays as well, or just be a Sunday show or be a Saturday show. So now you have both days. So no excuse this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do have artists that are coming. We have 3 artists. We have Mark Morales. They're on the Instagram King Kon page. I've highlighted some of their work. We have Zombie Pets, Ryan Brown. He's going to be there. And we have Johnny Desjardins coming from Canada to come as well. So we got, you know, 3 guests. That we did as many as we could fit with keeping, you know, the same amount of vendors. And the last piece of the puzzle is it's like 95% there. We're just trying to solidify a CGC facilitator to take submissions. And that's hopefully within the next week or so, I'll be able to just 100% confirm it, because I don't like to confirm anything unless it's 100%.
So one way or another, we're getting a facilitator there. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care if we have to grab Gary off the line. All right.
Yeah.
At this point, you know.
Yeah.
But you got awesome artists. We got the new logo. 2 days. You got the hotel. Like, we're gonna be there the whole weekend. A lot of people are gonna just be there the whole weekend. We're staying at the hotel. So, you know, there's going to be a little in between intermission, a little interlude, right? Like,
there's going to be meatballs, right?
Saturday night could get interesting, right?
You
know that.
Yeah.
Guys bringing meatballs. I mean,
and there are online tickets this time too. So in the past, everyone was always saying, "Where do I get tickets? Where do I get tickets?" I kept saying, "I'm going to work on that." the links on my Instagram page and on the Facebook page. I'm running Facebook ads. Eventbrite, search King Kon, and it'll come up. You got 4 different tiers. You got a single day Saturday, single day Sunday, 2-day pass, which we're gonna talk about because we have a special little surprise for your followers here.
Uh-oh.
And then there is a 25 ticket VIP, which comes with an exclusive limited sketch by Ryan Brown. It's a print. Not
Do you
comic,
have that photo out there yet or no?
No, he sent me updates today. It's really
Got it.
coming along, looking cool. So within the next week or so, probably. I think he just has to color it up and finalize it. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm really
This is
excited. Yeah, I'm really excited. I just, I want people to, want to come and be there and feel like you're getting this awesome comic show, but also getting to see people you don't get to see. That's kind of was the point of doing the Saturday show is 12 to 6. So it's a little later. Normally we started at 10. Sunday shows 10 to 4. But this way you guys come, get whoever's got to do some stuff on Saturday, get there at noon or get there at 3 or whatever you got to do. And then afterwards, people will be hanging out, having drinks. There's restaurants, there's bars.
Yep.
It's not like just a convention center where you just leave and kind of go your own way. This show was meant to be made to be more of a community event, not just get your comics and go, which you can do obviously, but it's also a place to hang out with you guys. What were you saying?
Greg, that's exactly what it is. Forget about what it's meant to be. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
If anyone's been to the first 3, it is just a cool hangout. Yes, you're gonna pick up books. Yes, you're gonna find awesome stuff. You're gonna buy toys. You're gonna buy comics. Now you're gonna get some stuff done by artists. It adds up and it adds up and it adds up. But the fun part is that you're hanging with cool people. You're spending time. You're laughing. You're drinking. You're eating. I mean, now it's 2 days. So it's like, you know what? We had 1 day before and you're like, oh man, I hate that it's over. No. Now you got 2 days. There's no hating. It's over.
What was happening, what we were noticing too, is, this kind of started with, we were having the setup for the show on Fridays. People were coming in who were coming from long distance were coming and then, coming down to the second floor from their room and seeing everyone set up and hanging out. And we're walking around and, I was like, yeah, walk around, see if anyone, get something from Gary, get something from who's ever setting up. And, Ben from CBSI makes deals on the Friday nights that he comes down. Yep. So Matt was like, why don't we have a Friday, special, evening event or something like that? I mean, or a Saturday and then do a Sunday show. And, that's kind of how it started. And then it wound up, with having to book the room and everything, we wound up just like, all right, let's do just do a Saturday show and have it start a little later and, go into the evening. This way people could hang out. But, yeah, I think just the way that we saw people coming in from long distance, whether it was like Chicago or Ohio or we had some people from Virginia Beach, I want more of that. I want people to be coming from afar and to feel like it's a
like maybe like Canada.
That would be great too.
Huh?
So guys, the link that I pinned in the chat, just go there. That's where the main page is. Okay. And that gives you all the info. Also in the description, you got the King Kon IG, you got the King Kon website, and you got where you can buy the tickets. If you go to the link that I pinned in the chat, that also takes you there to buy tickets. And you can buy them right now. They are live right now. Get the 2-day pass. I mean, because you're going to hang out with us for 2 days. So do that. Yeah. And I think, Greg, we have something special for the Defects tonight.
Yeah, so for the Defects in the chat, I mean, it's for anyone, up until New Year's Eve, if you enter Defects with a capital D 23 in the promo code for the 2-day pass only, it'll basically negate all the fees and take off 23%. So Defects 23, apply code, and you get a 23% off the 2-day pass.
Come on.
So it comes out to total to $14.75 for 2 days, and I'm not saying this just to say it. I went to Comic-Con this year. It's not the show for me anymore. All the vendors that were there are the vendors that we get a King Kon. Basically, it had probably the least amount of comics that I've seen, not because of the vendors that were there. They seemed to be like kind of the comics section seemed to have been a little smaller, whereas like New York Comic Con is more of like, I feel like it's pop culture Comic Con. If you want like New York Comic Con level like books and vendors, 2 days, $14.75 with that code, you got it. You got the whole community there. It's just, I don't know what else to say. Like you got to turn out. It's going to be amazing.
So guys, limited time, Defects 23, right, Greg?
Yeah, capital D, Defects 23. Apply code, and it knocks basically off the tax, off the fees, and a little more. So it comes out to $14.75 for the 2 days flat.
So come hang with us. We're gonna be there. Last year we had a dance off. We had a hunt.
We're putting some stuff together this year. So
what else did we do? What was the third thing? We had a chug off.
Well, then you had to find the most like random comic cover.
The most obscure comic, but that was I feel like that was rigged, but that's neither here nor there. We had the chug off, the dance off. I think this year we're going to do a meatball judging contest, so we'll try to coordinate with people beforehand. They're going to bring in meatballs, and we're going to judge them. We're going to do something special with that. And now it's 2 days, and the butcher's going to be there because he wasn't able to make it last year. So you're going to get 3 defects. I don't know how you. I mean,
artists.
CGC most likely, right? Most likely, we're not going to say 100%.
If you haven't looked up these guys, the 3 that I mentioned, Mark Morales, Johnny Desjardins, and Ryan Brown, I mean, they just sketched some unbelievably cool shit. Yeah. You know, like they're awesome. So, we basically, answered everything people have asked for that we can manage. Online sales, 2 days, artists, CGC, facilitation.
Big step this year. Big step this year. So what do we need? What do we always say? For the community, by the community, or by the community, for the community. That means the community's got to show up. We got to help. This is like the community's, I'm stealing it from you, Greg. It's the community's show. Right. So we gotta treat this thing like our baby. So we got to go there. We got to support. We got to hang out, and we got to talk comics. We got to hang, and we're gonna do some giveaways, some cool prizes, and just making fools of ourselves.
Spread the word. Spread the word.
Yeah, share it. Because I mean, I'm trying my best with. I'm no marketing pro, but I'm trying my best to get the word out there with social media ads and stuff like that. I'm ready to put up a freaking billboard on the turnpike. Like,
there you go.
I just want people to turn out because I want people to see that, like, every single person we had last show that left was like, I love this show. Like, this is such a great show. Like, you guys focus just on the comics and stuff like that. We do have pops and stuff like that. Look, if you want to come dress up, come dress up. We don't really have contests and stuff like that, but the main focus, the main focus is books. But it's we're gonna get some T-shirts made and stuff like that. I got that working behind the scenes, and I'll keep everyone posted. But it's just really it's worth the trip. I want it to feel like it's almost like a like how when you go to Terrificon. I'm not comparing it to Terrificon. I just like Terrificon. People go there, they get to hang out after. You could do the same thing here. You just can't gamble. At least in the hotel.
You can, but
yeah. I mean, we have games.
Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, you got all that. You got all that experience. We got new vendors setting up. We got a few people. I know Nemesis, Justin's setting up with someone who's got a original collection that he's selling. Okay. So I mean, that's the kind of shit you want to see. You don't want to keep going to these conventions where it's this, same sellers. We like to try to get, new dealers in there and fit them in when we can. So you're going to see stuff like that here too.
Very, very excited. Very excited for it.
Yeah, nice. It's the Predator 1 homage. That's the Predator 1, the Dark Horse book.
Off the 2-day pass.
Defects 23.
I'm writing in the.
And thank you, Greg.
Chat.
Thank you, Greg, for taking care of the defects. Yeah, that's you don't have to do
like
that.
I talk to Matt about the show all the time, and I keep telling him I just want people to come and have a good time and like be like, wow, that's a really awesome comic show, and I want to look forward to going to that every year. You know what I mean?
And guys, let me explain. The consensus from everyone leaving this show is exactly that. That's what people. I mean, I hate when I left the show. Let me just speak for personally. I leave the show and I hate that it was over. So again, the fact that now it's 2 days and you get to refresh and you get to do it again is going to be so much fun because
plus all those people that wanted to come on a Sunday. That Matt, you said you had a bunch of people reach out to you, being like, I can't make it. I work myself Saturdays, so I always have to take off for it, and so I'm really excited.
So guys, show up, come hang with us, support the show. It's community driven, and we're just gonna have a blast. So if you're on the fence, let us know why you're on the fence, and we'll try to and we'll go from there, right?
Oh yes,
it's good.
Seriously,
feedback,
I'd love to hear it.
It's good feedback, right? And it's something maybe that can be. I mean, Greg looks like I see Greg. We talk about this quite often, and he's always looking for the next thing to make it better, right? He doesn't want to take these leaps and bounds. He wants to grow it organically. He wants to take the steps in the right direction so that it's. I really do see this thing as becoming something way bigger. Not that it's not big now.
Can I explain something? Can I explain something? If you're on the fucking fence, get off the fucking fence and come to the show.
Just come hang out with us.
Just get off the fucking fence. Come have some meatballs. Come buy some comics. Come have some laugh. Come have a drink with the butcher. I mean, what's better than that?
Gary, E-Rod, Zap Comics, Ex-Illusionary, all the staples.
All the people that are going to be there are all the dudes that everyone fucks with. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's also, the last show was a little weird because it was like the recession was kind of just like hitting. The market was really on a downturn. It was like, we talked about it then.
Plus it was con season, ton of cons going on at the same time.
But like I said, everyone that left was like, had the best stuff to say about it. Some of the vendors were like, I made the most money on this show as ever. You get really serious buyers that come to these shows. It's not people that just walk around and leave.
Yeah. Big books were getting bought.
I mean, someone bought it. I think Gerard sold an ASM 1. I think, I know there were some big deals made, but the point is what I'm trying to make is this show it's a buyer's market right now. And these are all people that are willing and happy to. I make sure that the vendors that set up are vendors I know. I'm a little picky with who we let set up. Mike and I are both a little picky because we want people that we know are fair and know their stuff and have good stuff. And we'll, it's like you said, it's a community event. I try to make it fun for the buyers and the vendors and the attendees and, and you guys,
So,
as well.
So the promo, and correct me if I'm wrong, the promo is only for the 2 day because the VIP is limited. There's only a certain how many VIPs?
Yeah, it's just
the
2 day, 25 because the VIP it's $25. It comes with the sketch because he's only going to print like 25 of those, or 26 maybe. I don't know for the original. That comes with a badge, the cool laminate badge that we get made for every show. It'll say 2 day on it. It's just a little trinket. And then you get the 2 day pass. So you get basically the badge and the print for $10 on top
which
of
is a steal because it's Ryan, right?
Come on,
and it's limited, so
it's a TMNT universe crossover, which is cool because I like to imagine that maybe King Kon is from the TMNT universe. Maybe, he seems like he's kind of a mutant type thing. So
yeah. All right. So guys, definitely do that. If you're planning on doing it, no time like the present, buy yourself an early Christmas gift, get that 2 day pass, or if you can only come 1 day, just grab the pass now. And
it expires January 31st.
Yep. And December 31st.
December 31st, yes.
And what's the dates?
March 25th and March 26th. If you buy a ticket, your confirmation email will have, if you're traveling from far, we'll have the link for the hotel to book.
There you go.
Plenty of parking there. Again, there's restaurants. The Starbucks is finally open in the lobby. They finally staffed it.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
And they added an instant ramen machine, like this really big, fancy ramen,
I'm there.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Nice.
But you get like a bowl, and it's really freaking cool. There's sushi, burgers, beers.
Greg's actually at the
cafes for
hotel right
breakfast.
now. He's at the hotel right now.
Yeah, I should freaking work for them. You know, like I talk them up so much. But I also, as I was telling you, I like to give some insight into what it's like trying to run a con. You don't just announce it and expect people to show up. You got to convince people to show up. And I really feel I have 100% confidence that anyone who shows up will have a good time.
Yeah, man.
Let's go, Defects.
I mean, we're going to talk about this show again. We're going to have Greg back on clearly to talk about the show again. So this has been really good. I mean, it's 2 hours now almost. So
I'm sorry.
No. It's all of us. I mean, we've had it's been a lot of information tonight. It has nothing to do with you, Greg. It's just a lot of information tonight, which is good. People are hanging out. People are digging it. San Diego Comic-Con, I don't know if I'm coming next year. At some point, I'd like to get out there.
I'd like to go too.
Yeah, we got to make a plan for all these East Coast guys to get out there together. But it's been a fun night, Guy Forge. What do you got?
I got nothing. I'm excited for King Kon now. It's something to look forward to, just like everybody else.
I think it's gonna be awesome. Like just the fact that it's 2 days now, I'm just stoked because I always feel like squeezing it in, and there's so many people. Like I want to see Murph. I want to have a beer with Murph. I want to catch up with you guys more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And not feel like it's just we're passing by.
Bring a fresh pair of underwear. It's 2 days.
Plastic bag, a pair of underwear. You're good to go. That's all you need.
You got a pool or a pond over there?
Yeah, that's all you need. Either way.
Pool's fine.
Greg, anything else besides the show that you got coming up that you want to talk about, or?
No, I'm just like really enjoying, the community right now. Like even though the market's seeing its ups and downs, I just think we're all weathering certain storms together, and it's just wild. And I really love talking about the grading stuff. So if anyone ever wants to message me and has any questions, it's right up my alley.
There you go. Here's to looking up your address. All right, boys and girls. Well, all the information is in the description for the King Kon show. If you have a specific question about the grading or anything we talked about tonight, leave it in the comments, and we'll try to answer when we can. We will be back next Monday. Something in the works, a repeat. We did it about a month ago. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to try to get somebody else back on and do a little bit more of a market watch kind of deal. So we'll talk about that, but with a little bit of twist on it, a little bit of a twist. I think Gary will probably be back with us next week. And then I think, let me see, is next week our last show of the year? It might be. Yeah, next week is our last show of the year. And then we'll be back after New Year's. I can't believe December's halfway over, like literally. So
are we doing our crazy Christmas sweater, ugly Christmas sweater next week?
Next week? I mean, you can do whatever you want. I mean, no one's going to stop you from wearing an ugly sweater, right? I mean,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could have talked about that after I hit end, but sure. All right, boys and girls, appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up on the way out if you can. It only takes a second. And if you're new here, sub us up. We'll catch you next Monday night, 9 p.m. sharp. Later, D.